Hey everyone, welcome to the Business Savages Show. Thank you so much for watching today. I have the privilege to be here with Peter Feinmann from Feinmann Inc. Peter, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you very much, James.
Great, great. So Peter, I saw on your website that you enjoy hiking. What has been your favorite place of all to hike so far?
Oh, for many years, my in-laws lived in Central Oregon outside of Bend, and we did a lot of hiking in the Deschutes National Forest. So that holds a special place for my wife and I.
Very good, very good. So if you're ready, let's jump right into the show.
Okay, let's go ahead.
All right. Okay, Peter, so I've got a few questions, and my first question is, what does it take to be one of the top design firms?
Hmm. Well, it takes a lot of things. It takes, a kind of good financial. I think the best way to look at it is really look at our kind of our core values, in which we really have a strong focus on kind of being financially astute and understanding what our financials are, so that we really can kind of manage projects so that they are serving our clients well, and so that we can be successful and profitable. Um, for us, it's also creating a collaborative team of designers, project managers, administrative people, so that we are all working together. um, One of the strong values of ours for many years is really client focused, client first, client centered. Everything we do is about how well are we doing in terms of serving our clients, and also just making sure that what we do is excellent. Every step of the way, we kind of keep driving and making sure that we are excellent in what we do. Uh, and and I think what's really made us successful is that these core values actually are not mine. They are really an accumulation of people who've come and even gone over the years in the company. And little by little, values got added to the core culture here. And I wouldn't be surprised that more values don't get added over the next couple of years by other new people who show up and who are passionate about making sure that we can do certain things differently or improve upon that. So I think our success is the way we've used our team and built our team over the decades, but also understanding that you need to have certain tools in place to make sure that you are successful.
Yeah, great. I love that. Yeah, definitely can learn something from everybody that comes and goes, like you said. That's great. So tell me about your journey in creating your design and build firm.
Well, one of the things that I did early in business is that I joined a peer review group. It was a group of 10 remodelers from around the country. And I joined, I went to my first meeting, I think it was March of 1989. It was my second year of business. And it was probably a couple years after that that someone said, "Yeah, I'm doing design build." And I said, "Well, tell me about design build." And it seemed like a much more efficient and client-centered model than the model that I was doing in the first 3 years, first 3, 4 years of business, where someone would reach out to me saying they have a set of plans from an architect, and do I want to bid on that?
Hmm.
And and I found myself kind of getting into kind of some situations where I didn't actually really have full knowledge of what was being designed. So I wasn't able to kind of give my expertise because I was not part of the initial design phase. Um, and each time I had to meet a new architect who introduced me to a new client. So now not only did I have a new client, I had a new architect. So all of that felt like I was focusing on what the architect wanted, and not what the client needed.
Hmm.
And when that person mentioned the idea of design build in the early 90s, I said, wow, this sounds like a whole lot more efficient and client centered than the traditional model of kind of getting a set of plans and bidding on them and then hoping I get it. And as a very bright friend said to me many years ago, the more thorough the bid, the higher the price. And so when you bid on a project, there's this inclination to go lower price, which means you're not being thorough,
Hmm.
which means you then start kind of making mistakes, you start missing things, and then you start losing money. And then instead of giving the client excellence, you start giving the client less than excellence. And the design build model absolutely allows us to kind of leverage that to the highest degree.
Very nice. That's great. So tell me about your journey in, well, I'm sorry, what does it mean to be a design build firm?
Well, there are, the word design build is kind of somewhat of a buzzword over the years,
Mhm.
and there are a couple of different definitions. I think there's a lot of people in the industry that are design build that really build designers. meaning they really are builders. They've got an eye for design and they say, yeah, I'm design build, but they're really building kind of more simple projects. I think true design build is when there's a strong collaborative team of professional architects, designers, really working well with the construction side to making sure that all that expertise is being brought together at the same time. And through that collaboration, really producing something that's excellent and really taking care of our clients. Um, it's a model in which the communication early on of the design and the specifications and the pricing and all those features are really being brought into the fold early on. Most people lose money in the planning stages of this business.
Mhm.
Sure, mistakes happen during construction, but
Mhm.
most of those are generally somewhat fixable. They
Mhm.
always cost money to fix, but they're fixable. But
Mhm.
the real problems occur when there isn't good communication and good design and good kind of pulling back the layers of what could be potentially going to drive mistakes and issues and costs. And that's why we like to put a lot of focus on the front end planning and understanding a project before we actually build it.
Yeah, and that's great that you communicate with every party involved, so there's just a clear, system and process throughout the whole thing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
What it means is that when we plan a job, we plan it more thoroughly. We plan it with less mistakes. We
Mhm.
plan it with more accurate pricing, and we plan it so that when the project's done, the clients have something that they love
Mhm.
instead of, oh, I'm glad to be done with this whole thing. I
Absolutely.
didn't love what I got. I kind of like what I got. Didn't love it.
Yeah.
Um, and they're not walking away being totally satisfied. And I think that's really kind of the most important part of our business to make sure that we have building a model in which we creating a high degree of satisfaction with our client base.
Absolutely. So, what does it mean to be a fierce advocate for your clients?
That's one of our actually kind of a part of what we call our client service commitment. And
Hmm.
we really want all our project managers, all our field staff to constantly be kind of pulling back the layers to make sure that what we're uh, bumping into, what we're proposing to our clients is really the kind of most thought through approach to getting the project the best for our clients. We never want to hear, we really like the project, but we wish we had dot dot dot. So by being a fierce advocate, it allows us to kind of really pull back those layers. It's like a banana. We keep peeling it back so that we allow our clients to really kind of make those decisions that will best serve them and make sure that they really are very pleased with all the options that are before them, whether they chose them or not. We always want to make sure that we've given them those choices. We, we live in a business in which most people will recommend what a client should do based upon the easiest thing for them to build. So, um, and we want to make sure that we don't allow that to happen. We want to make sure that the best thing is built for our clients, not the easiest thing for them.
Hmm.
Sometimes it might be easy, but we want to make sure that we're not taking a choice because someone said, oh, I prefer to do that, so that's why you should do that. Well, is that the best option?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, what does problem solving really mean when it comes to remodeling?
Boy, if you've been in this business long enough, you can start anticipating what could go wrong. I was on a project about a year ago in which, there was some cabinet work that wasn't well done. I remember stopping by and talking to one of my long-term older employees and said, look, there's about 5 things that could go wrong here. I bet it's one of these following two. And he smiled at me because he was laughing because he understood there weren't that many reasons why this project went bad, but we could guess at it. And so for us, it's really anticipating and kind of looking ahead and trying to really understand what could go wrong so that we are minimizing the kind of issues that occur. And then when they do occur, because they do occur, there's a lot of unexpected, unanticipated things. How do you actually break down the problem so that you kind of get its parts done more efficiently than waiting? I know some people who won't do it until they can get it all done right. We like to kind of break it down to its parts to move a project along so that problem solving to me is not necessarily doing the action all at the same time, but also breaking it down to its pieces so that you can really kind of execute it and get it completed for a reasonable amount of time and for a reasonable amount of money.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've heard the easiest way to eat an elephant is by, one bite at a time, break it down, right? So it sounds like it's kind of the same theory.
Yeah, but you've got to be able to be strategic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what I mean by strategic is you take a problem, you break it down into its parts.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you might say, oh, I'm going to do all the parts at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you've got to be creative and go, look, I'm going to do these three parts. I think I can wait on the other two parts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to do the other parts when either the right product comes in or I have
Mm-hmm.
more information. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
comfortable moving these parts along. And I think a lot of people get into trouble in this business because they try to do it all at once and don't understand how to break some of the kind of tasks down into its pieces.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So this is the question we get asked, and then we ask everybody. So how did you adapt during COVID to be able to still deliver, elevated services to all your clients?
We live in a state in which we were shut down, but they did not shut down construction.
Mm-hmm.
I knew many people who shut down, um, because in some towns you have to shut down,
Mm-hmm.
but also because they just didn't want to be out there with the risk. We thought there was a calculated risk. We thought early on that if we could actually separate ourselves from our clients, really minimize the amount of people who are on the job site at any given time, and create cleaning stations. And this is really before masks came out,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we kept on working. Now, the other thing that we had to do was manage people's anxiety. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, people who remained working kind of wanted to stay home,
Mm-hmm.
but really didn't want to stay home, and they were mixed. And so I think between encouraging people to work, so very early on, I took one of my project managers and I said, you're my COVID safety officer,
Mm-hmm.
and I want you to manage all things COVID, which means you talk to all our subcontractors every day and let them know how many people are going to be on the job. Are you going to follow your protocols? We were meeting with our field staff weekly. We were doing regular meetings kind of via, we were using Teams or Microsoft Office.
Mm-hmm.
So we're using Teams to do a lot of communication in-house, and then using Zoom meetings to kind of meet with all of our clients constantly and regularly. And then when masks became the protocol, right away, I think I would say by the end of March, we were distributing masks and to making sure that we're all wearing masks at all times at jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, when we bump into someone's not wearing a mask, we're really right on them. I walked to a job last week and I said to someone, "You're not wearing a mask?" Because, well, the client told me it was okay. Okay. Well, I didn't say anything. I came back to the office. I pulled my project manager aside and said, "Why is this person on site without a mask? I don't care what the client says."
Mm-hmm.
So we called them and said, "We don't care what our client says. Our protocol is you wear a mask,
Mm-hmm.
and please don't break the rules." We've so far, knock on wood, we've been going through this kind of situation since March 14th, 9-10 months, and nobody in our organization has gotten sick, yet. And we've had some subcontractors, a plumber got sick, but none of us have, and we've been exposed, but we haven't gotten sick because we're wearing masks, we're keeping socially distant. We are taking these rules seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been able to kind of do well during this pandemic financially because we didn't stop working.
Yeah, and I've noticed a lot of that. People are home more, so do you feel like they're home more? They start seeing flaws, and they're like, "I want to get things fixed."
Oh, well, that's it. I mean, two things. When they're home during COVID, a couple of things we have to do is not talk about things that you want to talk about while the client's on the other side of a plywood wall.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had a few things where like, oh boy, that person vented, could be political, it could just be a bad day,
Right.
and offended a client or two. And we had to really say, everybody, our clients are home. Please be sensitive to that.
Yeah.
And you're right, people are home, and so we're getting a lot of phone calls. We had 2.5 times the leads in July, August, September, October than we typically get.
Wow.
And that is what I call it the COVID bubble.
Wow.
No one called us in mid-March, April, May, and June, and then suddenly it swelled. We had a few phone calls, but nothing to speak of.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
Fortunately,
that's
we came into COVID with a lot of work in design, so we were
yeah.
working, pretty actively on current projects and design, but new phone calls just stopped, until people could kind of figure out what was going to happen,
Hmm.
in the future. So.
Yeah, yeah. So now, what advice and guidance do you have for homeowners that are considering, getting a remodel?
That's a great question. Uh, One of the things that we realize is that homeowners who are considering remodeling call us up and they immediately tell us the solution. I want to do that, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And our strategy is to pull them back and get them focused on the problem they want to solve, not the solution.
Mhm.
The solution will become apparent after we identify what the problem is.
Mhm.
So we really would ask people to kind of focus on the problem, and as much as you want to fantasize about the solution, what does the problem mean? When my family's all gathered in the family room, I can hear all the noise in the kitchen. I wish there was some way to separate it. Or just the opposite. When everybody's in the family room, I wish there was no separation between the kitchen and the family room. Uh, I don't have any place in the house to go for peace and quiet. I love to take a bath, and I simply don't have a place in the house to take a bath and be separate from the family. I don't have a place to kind of engage with people, be separate from people, whatever the problem might be. There isn't enough sunlight. My house is dark and dingy. My
Mhm.
cabinets are falling apart. There's so many problems that people want to solve, but people tend to focus on solutions. So I say focus first on the problem. I
Mhm.
said, two, kind of know what you like in terms of colors. And if you look at the way you dress and the things that you've chosen in your prior homes, and it could be in furnishings, you begin to get a sense of, I always laugh that my wife and I, we've been together for 35 years. We kind of like the same colors. And we're
Yeah.
doing another project right now, and shocking news, the floor tile looks almost just like the floor tile that we chose for a bathroom 20 years ago.
Wow.
We have a color palette that we both lean towards together.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I think a really important one is it's really important to strive for excellence, but don't strive for perfection.
Mhm. Mhm.
Excellence can be achieved, perfection is unattainable.
Mhm.
People really lose that perspective during a remodeling project. Uh, and then I think find a team that best works with what your needs are and that's most collaborative with you. Now, if you're a person that wants to uh, kind of help manage subcontractors and get their own product, then look for a team that teams up with you well that way. If you're someone who has little time and want a team that can handle all that and really give you selections and you choose from, that's a different kind of team. So you really got to find a team that's best going to support your kind of style, your natural buying style, and one that allow you to kind of feel like you're working really well with that group. So those are the, focus on the problem, know what your color, know what you'd like, strive for excellence but not perfection, and really find a team that is both best going to meet your needs and be collaborative with yours and your partner's spouse's styles.
Yeah, I love that. That's good advice. So before we close this out, how can homeowners find Monique?
Well, most people find us through our website at Feinmann.com,
Okay.
and it's pretty easy at that point to kind of send us an email and make a request and get the process to help us to kind of uncover what you want to have done, what problem you want to solve, and then we have a pretty defined process to take our clients from an initial sales, phone call to a sales call to moving into design and then ultimately into construction, and then waking up in some period of months or a year from today and going, oh, wow. I've had a couple people stop me during COVID and go, I can't believe I feel so lucky. We got this done before COVID, or we got this done in early COVID. And I love my new space. We're home so much. It is such a pleasure that we have this new space. So, that's the beauty of what we do. We get to change people's homes, and we really get to change the way people live in their homes,
Mhm.
and the way people live in their homes really can change the way they feel about their day-to-day lives. So we're really in a business to transform. What I like to say is we really transform the way people live in their homes, and we help transform people by doing so.
Yeah, that's beautiful because yeah, you're in your home quite a bit during these times, and
Well, we're
so
in your home quite a bit anyway. I mean, it always amazes me. I've always said I want to be in the car industry,
yeah,
because in the car industry, you buy a car for, let's say, $50,000, make up a number,
right.
right? And then you sell the car, and 7 years later, the thing's worth $20,000. And everybody says, oh, I love my car, right? Now, people buy a house They renovate the house, and the first question they say is, I want to make sure that I get every return on my dollar investment in what I put in my house. And I absolutely doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
You live in these houses for 10, 20, 30 years. We consume them. We raise families. We gather with people. We do our work. We create pleasure. We sometimes are sad in our homes. And then we wake up after 20, 30 years and we say, please pay me every dollar back. It's an amazing process of which it's the only place in the world that we can actually sometimes demand that we can have a full return on our investment while we've consumed so much of our lives in these domiciles. So,
Yeah, exactly. That's great. So I want to thank you guys. Thank you so much for being on the show today. And thanks to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you, Peter, for taking the time to join us. And hope everybody watches this show and gets something out of it. We'll see you guys on the next show.